Hey everyone, it's Frostbreak back with another video, this time on Wayfinder's characters. In this video, we'll be covering all sorts of things like subclasses, augmenting abilities, and some secret information we know about the characters. Before we begin, you need to know that this is all early access information and is subject to change. Although all of the information presented in this video is taken directly from the official website, Reddit, or Discord, abilities and details can change over time. If the characters get changed drastically or new information comes to light, I'll make sure to make an update video and link it on screen now. If there's no update video on screen, it means everything is still pretty accurate. With that out of the way, let's begin. Earning the Wayfinders. Currently, we have multiple confirmed dev reports that there is zero loot box or gacha action in this game, and all characters can be earned. We also know that characters are earned similarly to Warframe. And if you don't know, Digital Extremes, which is the company that made Warframe, is partnered with Airship Syndicate on this project, so it makes sense that we'll be seeing a lot of reoccurring Warframe systems popping up. So without any speculation, zero speculation, we know you must earn the Wayfinders through gameplay, which is a really nice thing to hear. With a little speculation, we've been hinted that the first 5 characters that you can view on the website right now are mutually exclusive. This lines up with the Warframe tutorial, where you pick the character you're interested in playing first. All the other characters will of course be earnable through dungeons or missions, but you don't get all of the options for free off the start. You, the player, make your choice in what you're most interested in playing, and if you don't like it, you farm for another character. We don't know how unlocking new characters will work, we just know you can do it, but we don't know how the system is being approached. It wouldn't really make sense to craft the character like in Warframe, since Wayfinders are human beings and they're not like machines or exoskeletons, so you might have to do a storyline or side quests in order to add a new Wayfinder to your roster. What I just said there, and as I said before I started rambling, is that was a little speculative. No one knows how you add characters to your roster yet, and that's just me making an educated guess as best as I can as a Warframe veteran and with the hints we've been given on the Discord. Leveling the Wayfinders. I don't think I need to tell you how leveling works in a typical MMO. Kill things, do dungeons, complete quests, level up. But before I get into the meat of this chapter, dungeons have a confirmed party size of 3, and this has been confirmed by multiple developers. This is of course subject to change, but 3 is an odd number. No pun intended. What I'm trying to say is usually you see a party of 4 or 5 players for dungeon style gameplay, so I'll be interested to see how this pans out for Wayfinder. So back on topic. Leveling the Wayfinders, from what we know, is slightly different compared to a typical MMO. Your character has levels it can progress through, starting with one ability at level 1 and unlocking all 4 along the way. I don't know specifically when you unlock your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th abilities, I'm just going off the gameplay footage, but from this gameplay we can tell that you do not get all your abilities when you start out. What we do know is XP also goes towards your abilities, allowing you, the player, to level them up and augment them into new powers. The point I'm trying to drive home here is the abilities you see on the website, that I will be going through later in this video, can be changed dramatically depending on your choices and your playstyle. I've seen the augment system done really well in the Elder Scrolls Online. Upon leveling up an ability to max level, you're basically given 2 choices on what you want to augment the ability into. Some do more damage, some have more crowd control, some may be cheaper to cast. It's really 100% your choice as a player, and I'm super excited to see what Wayfinder's augmentation system is like. There is also no confirmed level cap, or at least the developers won't comment on a level cap. There has to be some kind of level cap in an MMO. You can't scale indefinitely, so there'll likely be a soft cap where you stop gaining stats, but we don't know where that is yet. The Wayfinders. Okay. So as I said, we're going to be going through the characters now, and I'm going to relay any super secret information I've collected from the Reddit or Discord. 90% of the information about the Wayfinders is on the official website, but some of it isn't, and luckily for you, I've collected every morsel of information I could. I'm not going to be theory crafting or speculating what these abilities do, at least not in this video. As I said, 90% of the solid information is available on the website. I'll read out the ability. If I know any extra details or secret information, I'll share it. Starting off with Wingrave. Wingrave is the Wayfinder take on Templar. Big heals, big armor, low difficulty. This is probably the easiest character to learn according to the website, which as a tank main myself, I respect because usually tanks and healers are the hardest and most punishing to play in an MMO, so I like the fact they're helping players get in on the ground floor. First thing we're going to talk about is Wingrave's passive. This information used to be on the official website before its launch, but the devs took it down because it was hard to show in a video tidbit and it wasn't up to par with the rest of their video clips. But lucky for you, I got the scoop on some of the Wayfinder's passives, not all of them, but is better than nothing. So, Wingrave's passive is that he heals nearby allies when killing an enemy with a melee attack. That's all we really know about his passive ability. It does seem pretty powerful, especially in a tanking role due to clearing ads off bosses and keeping your team healed up, but again, the minute details haven't been shared, just the broad stroke of the ability. Wingrave's first ability is Righteous Strike, which does huge cleave damage and heals himself and nearby allies for enemies hit. His second ability is Radiant Pulse. Wingrave releases his inner Reinhardt and drops a mobile barrier in front of him that follows his movements. Allies standing behind the shield also get a boost to their defenses. Wingrave's third ability is Judgment. Wingrave marks enemies for judgment around him, and anyone hitting a judged enemy will restore their health. It doesn't say that on the website, but we have staff comments confirming that this ability does taunt, which is great news for anyone trying to play Wingrave. AoE taunts are the best kind of taunts, and you can't change my mind about that. Finally, Wingrave's last ability is Divine Aegis, which drops a Jibby Dome around himself and making anyone that's standing in it immune to damage and healing them over time. Wingrave also has a signature weapon that has its own unique ability separate from his class abilities, and if you want to check out my breakdown of the weapons, there should be a card on screen now. Silo is the next Wayfinder specializing in long-range projectiles and area of effect abilities. Silo has a surprising amount of supportive and crowd control abilities, making him more like an engineer rather than your typical marksman DPS. Silo is a very mechanically interesting character who benefits off comboing abilities together. I don't know any super secret information about Silo. All I know is that he's clearly stated online, so feel free to check out through the links in the description and read up on him yourself. Silo's abilities are all super combo happy. He can throw a Fortnite hologram to taunt enemies, throw oil at their feet, then ignite it for massive nuke damage with his firebomb. His last ability also has massive AoE and does damage over time, so it seems like Silo is going to be the king of ad clear in any dungeon. I personally think he has some of the best utility for solo or team play. I haven't played him yet, that's just from looking at the abilities. Now, before I transition completely to Nis, who's the next Wayfinder, there is a passive ability that has been hinted that generates crit chance during combat. In my opinion, this passive only fits Silo or Nis. Crit chance doesn't really make sense for the two tanks nor the mage, and with the least speculation possible, I would probably give Nis this passive over Silo, but it's a close call. Silo has a little drone buddy, and I'm surprised if it's not part of his passive to some degree. With full speculation right now, I'm going to assume Nis's passive ability is the mysterious crit chance passive. Either the higher she gets her own combos, or the longer she's in combat, the more her critical strike chance will scale. Nis is your standard rogue/assassin character present in any MMO. It appears she uses some kinds of shadow magic, which is also pretty consistent with the rogue MMO archetype. In my opinion, she looks the hardest to play by far, but has some really cool combos she can pull off if you're super into crazy APM combat. Nis's abilities all seem related to some kind of movement. Her first ability is Shadow Step that pulls a shadow through the enemies you pass through for extra damage. Her second ability is More Dashes that damage the closest enemy with a Shard of Magic. Her third ability, believe it or not, is an Invulnerable Dash where she hovers, throws out knives before doing a massive dash backwards. And finally, her last ability allows the Shadow Step dash to have no cost or cooldown. Very cool for PvE, and by far the most annoying character if PvP is ever added to Wayfinder. Right now there are no plans for it, but oh my god, I wouldn't want to face this in a battleground. Senja is our penultimate character of this segment. Your typical barbarian/fighter, Senja has the ability to tank and do some crazy damage. She has an interesting resource called Crowd's Favor, which we can see being filled up and spent in some of the gameplay clips. Her passive ability, which we do know, this is confirmed, is about this favor resource. Her abilities will fill this favor pool, which is segmented into multiple bars. As it fills up, she gains additional ability power and defense. Essentially, this is a rage mechanic or rage bar that you can find in MMOs like World of Warcraft. As the rage bar increases, Senja does more and takes less. Management of this bar can be spent and filled with abilities, allowing Senja to unleash crazy amounts of damage or hold onto it during a boss phase for increased defense. That's really the only secret information I hold on Senja. I don't want to waste too much time on her abilities because they're all kind of common knowledge, so feel free to look at the website for descriptions on the rest of her abilities. They're all pretty self-explanatory once you know what her passive is. If you don't and you read them, you do get kind of confused. You don't know what favor is. It's kind of tied to all these abilities. Hopefully that little tidbit I shared with you lets you understand the abilities a bit better. Speaking of passives, let's move on to the last Wayfinder, Kairos. Kairos is a war mage proficient in melee combat and ranged combat. He's your go-to offensive magical character. We have a pretty good idea of Kairos' passive due to a staff comment, which basically allows him to use his first ability, which is spammable, for free while comboing his other abilities. We also know Kairos uses a unique resource like Senja called Arcane Fragments. His first ability is called Savage Rake, and on this ability it says Arcane Fragments can be consumed to cast Savage Rake at no cost. We have like 80% of the puzzle here because it's slightly unclear as to what the interaction between his passive and his first ability and the Arcane Fragments is. I'll make sure to have the staff comment on screen so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So I'm not super confident in making an assumption here, so I'm just going to leave it kind of open to interpretation. Likely it's a reset on his primary ability, which is spammable, which has a lot of damage. I'm guessing it's something like that. An additional little bit of information that I collected from the gameplay clips is that Savage Rake apparently is able to hold up to 3 charges. So that makes sense because it's a spammable and you can kind of save up and shoot them all at one time. So that's a cool feature that's not stated on the website, but it is in fact in the game. Speaking of Arcane Fragments, Kairos' second ability is Siphon Radiant, which reduces the cooldowns of all of his abilities and generates an Arcane Fragment. His third ability marks all enemies around him with a ticking time bomb that builds up in power until it explodes, and his last ability is the coolest, dropping a massive fist out of the sky onto an enemy, doing huge AoE damage. Again, I don't really know anything special about Kairos besides his passive and his first ability. If you want to learn more about him and his story, check out his page on the website. Cosmetics. Same with the weapons, we know there will be ample customization with character cosmetics within the game. We already have some footage of some cosmetics that are going to be added in the beta, and they look really great. The team has said that cosmetics are a main focus for the game, which makes sense due to it being a free-to-play model. Cosmetics will probably look incredible and be their main source of revenue. Additionally, there are cosmetic pets in Wayfinder, but they don't do anything and are purely cosmetic. We also know mounts will be in the game with a wide variety of customization options. If you'd like to know more about Wayfinder, more specifically how the crafting and weapon system works, make sure to check out the video on screen now. Also wanted to jump in and say thanks for all the support on the channel. I started this week with 17 subscribers and now I'm sitting around 70. Really happy to see people are enjoying the content, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing and try to bring you the best Wayfinder content I can. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, make sure to stick around and subscribe. I'm not sure when this video is releasing, but today is the 12th, which means tomorrow is the first day of testing for the game. I have no insider knowledge as of yet, and I wanted to push this video out as soon as I could to make sure if any of my speculations were correct, they do not fall in violation of the NDA we need to sign up for. With that being said, I'm going to be playing the hell out of Wayfinder this week, so I hope to see you all in game. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope to see you in the next one.